Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I know that for where I am, it's really, really hot outside. And so I hope that it is, that at least you can be inside and at least you can be somewhat comfortable in there because, yes, outside it is just horrible. And also, if you have outside animals, absolutely make sure they have water and a cool place to go because it really does help to be in the shade. So, anyway, on that note, I would like to invite or welcome you to the hidden abuse no one talks about. I'm going to start this out by sharing my screen so that uh, you can follow along with me on my slides. And also, if you are in the Facebook group, I would like to, I'm going to put the Freedom Note workbook in there. And I'm also going to put it in the Zoom notes too. So if there's anybody that wants to get it from there, that you can, because this Freedom Workbook is absolutely amazing. And it's something where it helps you to address what your thoughts about money are, like how you grew up, what you were thinking about how your parents taught you about money. And then it also goes into different ways that financial abuse has probably happened in your life. Where you maybe you laid down a little bit and you just let somebody else take care of it because you thought that that was the right thing to do. Because I know that for me, that even though I was the one that ran the checkbook, that I ran everything by him. And if he told me no, or he told me to do this, or he told me to do that, that's exactly what I did. So I complied with everything that I was told. And maybe that's where you are. Let me see if we've got everybody in. Okay, I am going to start sharing my screen so that you can see this. And I am screen sharing. Okay, we are good to go. I say that. Okay, we are good to go. So, my name is Michelle Spexarth, and I am a trauma informed coach that helps women that have left narcissistic relationships basically to recover afterwards. Because I know that from the experiences that I've had that I did it very shakily, that I was like stabbing in the dark about this. And I want this to be easier for other people that have been through this so that it doesn't take them as long as it took me, so that they have a guided healing path and that they're not just wandering around aimlessly in the woods. So the name of this webinar is The Hidden Abuse No One Talks About, How Financial Control Steals Your Confidence, Your Freedom, and Your Future. So for me, he expected that I would always make sure there was money in the checking account for whatever he needed to buy. I was the one that kept the finances, but he told me exactly what to do with all of it. And like I told you just a second ago, I mostly blindly complied. So, like I said, I put the Freedom Workbook in the comments so that you could download that. And this is something that you can do as we go along through this, or you can do it on your own later. If at any moment you have questions or anything about it, or you need a little bit of help with it, please feel free to ask me, even if we are not in this webinar. Like if you're watching the replay or you're watching this on YouTube or wherever, I want you to feel comfortable that you can come to me and you can ask me questions and we can talk through some of this stuff if that's something that you want to do, because it really is. Sometimes we get so stuck that we just need a little bit of help. Okay, so by the end of today, you're going to know what financial abuse actually is, what it looks like, why intelligent women end up trapped. I mean, most of us women, we're smart people. We just got ourselves in a place where things got really rough and then we got stuck. Number 3, why leaving doesn't magically fix it. Number 4, what the freedom framework is. And number 5, how to teach your children healthy money beliefs. Because I think that as we are learning this, that it's so good to teach our children this too, because we want to change this pattern of the way we believe about money. And we also want to help them to have a healthier way of looking at money than we did, so that they will be equipped to actually go and do amazing things when they become adults. So, hi, I'm Michelle. I'm your guide tonight. I spent 18 years in a narcissistic marriage. I know what it feels like to question every purchase. I know what it feels like to rebuild after leaving. And today I coach women every week who are doing exactly that. I want to share a couple stories with you. One of them was about what was it? I know what it feels like to question every purchase. I remember what it was like for me was that, in that first slide I shared that he was like, you just make sure there's money in there. And sometimes that was very tricky because of the way our finances were, because it was a very ebb and flow type thing. And so for me, it was, we may have a lot and we may not have very much, but he always wanted to make sure that there was money in there, and that was my job. And so if that meant that he wanted to have a certain amount of money in there, but we only had like, I don't know, $200 more than that in there, then it was my job to take that $200 and make sure that we had food, and to make sure that we had gas, and to make sure that everything else was taken care of. And if that meant that I went without, then that's what I did. And so that, yes, I did shoot myself in the foot. I know I did. I look back and I'm like, I was sacrificing for my children. I was trying to put him first. He was the breadwinner. So of course he should be able to spend the money. This was my mentality about that. And it has changed immensely since then. But that was just kind of where I was coming from. You may be coming from a place where it was you had no control over the finances, that you were allowed to spend money, or maybe you were given an allowance. There's so many different ways that this can look. But I know that, I want to tell you what my situation was, but also I think more of the normal situation is that the man kept all the control of the money, and he was the one that, like I said, gave an allowance, or my dog's in here, or told them how it was going to be spent or anything like that. So that's just another way it can look. Sorry about my dog. So let's look at what financial abuse really is. Financial abuse is using money as a tool of power, control, fear, or dependence. So they're trying to create a dependency from you to them so that they can keep you trapped. My dog is being sick. I'm so sorry. Money isn't the issue really. It's about the control that they can have over you with the money. So if they restrict access to you, which means that you have an allowance, or you have to ask permission, or you're prevented from working, or when you do work, you have little or nothing to say about how it's spent because they take control of all of it. Or I want to put this here too, is the money that you do make, if you choose to spend it in a certain way, that they may shame you because, well, how nice that you get choices, but I don't. I have to pay the bills. I have to do this. I have all this responsibility. So it can be very twisted, and it can be very covert and distorted as to how they restrict your access. Telling you that there's certain purchases that you can't make, even though it may be health related, or things that you need in order to be well. Though that's another way. The other is hidden and weaponized, when they hide accounts, when there's debt in your name that you don't even know about, or when money is used to punish you. Like if you didn't do what they wanted, then they will take all finances away from you. Or another way is if you do not spend the money the way they want you to, that maybe this is covered with silent treatments for weeks on end, or name calling and telling you how stupid you are. These are all part of that. Okay, so then let's look at the post-separation part. Child support manipulation, legal fees as weapons, threatening financial ruin. And what this can look like is that if they withhold all ways of money that should be coming to you, either by quitting a job so that there's no money for you to be able to receive as a child support, if they manipulate the court system to take so long that financially you just can't bear it anymore and you give up. One of the other things that they do with this financial abuse is that, especially post separation, is that they may just be trying to smoke you out. And what I mean when I say that is that they will withhold finances so long that you come back because you realize or you think that you're not going to be able to make it. That is another way of abuse. That's another financial abuse. So these are all very, very hard, especially when you're coming out of a narcissistic relationship and you are so raw and you are so confused just about how everything is, because you're sitting in a position where you're trying to wrap your head around the fact that this is your life, that you were dealing with somebody that has been so abusive that it has literally changed the chemistry in your brain because of the way they've treated you. So you're dealing with all of this on top of this fight for your life, for your children, for your finances, for staying on your own. So it's a lot. Financial abuse often continues long after divorce. Many women think that leaving ends the abuse, but it's just the strategy changes. That's all there is. It just shifts into something different and morphs into something different. Hold on just a second. I want to check Facebook and see if we're good there. Okay. And okay, I want to make sure that you guys are still seeing what I'm seeing too. Okay, so how do you end up here? It happens slowly. You're like me, you wanted to please your spouse. You wanted to have this happy family. You were willing to do whatever you had to make this happen. And this meant people pleasing, wanting the peace, avoiding the conflicts, not having the fights, going for the peaceful place all the time, being compliant when something really isn't what you wanted, just really not standing up for your beliefs. And this could go back all the way to when you were a child, and that getting your needs met was not something that was a priority to anybody else. And so you had to figure out how to be loved and how to stay safe and how to get your needs met. So that's where it starts back typically in childhood. And then the beliefs take hold. He knows more. I'm not good with numbers. He handles all of that. Whatever beliefs that you have that, well, he's going to take care of me, that was part of the promise. He's going to take care of me, and I want to show him that I trust him, and that, all of these things that we put out there. And then the trauma bonding sets in. This happens so gradually, handing over decisions, losing confidence, trusting him, believing him when the lies come, or when he puts you down and you start making it about you, that, you must not be good enough. And that's where all of this kind of starts rolling around in together, and that trauma bonding starts happening and setting in. And then the end result is that you aren't just financially dependent, but you're emotionally convinced that you cannot survive alone, or all finances are blocked from you, so you have nothing. That's exactly what the abuser wants. The end result is you feel like you need them. You feel like getting away from them, that drug, and separating yourself from that drug of that relationship feels so hard. And it has been compared to a heroin addiction, because of the way that the chemicals in your brain change. So if you have been struggling to break a trauma bond, if you have been struggling to feel settled after you leave and all of the dust has kind of possibly settled a little bit, that is because that is the addiction to the trauma bond. That is the addiction piece of the brain doing what it does. So please don't beat yourself up on that, because it is very, very challenging to make it through that, to get through the withdrawal, and to come to a place where you feel peaceful within yourself. Okay, so this is where this is an activity, and this is part of the activity that's in the Freedom Workbook. But you can do a little bit of that here with me if you'd like. So where did your money beliefs come from? So think about these questions and write down your answers. Think about when you were growing up. Think about your mom and dad, or your mom and stepdad, or your dad and stepmom, or whoever you lived with, right? Could be grandparents or whatever it is. Who made most financial decisions in your household while you were growing up? And so I know that I'll just give you answers for mine. I know that my mom and my stepdad had separate accounts, but I also know that he was basically the final say on things. So my mom did have her own money, and my stepdad, he had most of the say, and he had his own money too. But they also combined some of their money to pay the bills on certain things. And so I think it was a very healthy way to go for them. I have told several people basically that when you are in a relationship, that the most important thing is for you and that your significant other to figure out what works for you, to figure out where you can both be honored, to figure out where you can both be heard and trusted, and that both of you have independence around money and around the things that are important to you, because this creates a healthy relationship where both of you can move around and openly choose each other. And we're going to get more to that in a little bit. Okay, what messages did you hear about money? I always felt like money was more important than me. Money was like the top thing for growing up. And when I was little, money was hard. Money was scarce. Because my mom was single, she was going to college, she was trying to raise these little people. My dad didn't have us very often just because it was every other weekend. That's just the way the system was. But then when she remarried, it was money's more important than you. And those are my lessons. Those are me. And I'm telling you these to hopefully spark something within you so that you can look at your situation and that you can write these things down for yourself. Okay, so were you taught to be submissive and the man is the leader of the house, handing over all control to him? Was that taught? I think the reason that in my mom and stepdad's relationship that they set that up the way they did is because in the mom's marriage to my dad, that he had all control and she had no control. And so I think that she decided that's never happening to me again. And so, that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to learn from our mistakes. So these beliefs become the soil financial abuse grows in. Okay, maybe you heard money doesn't grow on trees, or rich people are greedy, or dad handled everything and mom wasn't allowed. Whatever that looks like for you, that is what I want you to really think about with these questions. Okay, so what financial abuse creates? It's much bigger than debt. Emotionally, it creates fear, anxiety, constant guilt, low self-worth. Psychologically, decision paralysis, learned helplessness. Do you know what learned helplessness is? It means that you're not helpless, but you have either been told or you've decided that that's not your area of expertise, or that's not your area to deal with. And so you basically check out and you learn that I'm not good at this. Maybe people have told you that you're not good at this, and it may or may not be true, but it's probably not. But you learned to be helpless, or difficulty trusting yourself, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could spend, this money. Oh, it's, I'm afraid to do that. I can tell you for myself that it was very interesting. I did not choose my own clothes for most of our relationship. He would go buy the clothes, I would wear them, because that was just the way it went. And I'm not one that cares enough about clothes that I made a big deal out of it. But then when I actually did want to pick my clothes, that was when the shaming started on that. So they start breaking down that trusting yourself piece, and it bleeds into so many other areas of your life. Okay, relationally, isolation, dependence on someone that you thought you could trust, your children learning unhealthy patterns, all of this stuff. The isolation is that you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything because you don't have any money power, right? Okay, so financial abuse rewires your nervous system. Money begins to feel dangerous even after you have left. Okay, so let's look at the freedom framework. I love this so much. And we're going to go over just like this one, and then we're going to go over every single step along the way. So the first one is F, face the truth. This one is so hard. It's so hard to be radically accepting of what the truth of things are, but it is where we must start. R, rebuild your confidence. E, establish habits. Another E, expand independence. D, define your boundaries. O, own your future. And M, multiply the legacy. So excited to share this with you. It's going to be so good. Okay, so F, face the truth. Recognize that you've been abused, okay? Recognize that you were treated unfairly around finances. And yes, part of it might be that you laid down and that you let it happen. But somebody that really loves you would not have allowed you to lay down and let it happen. They would have been like, no, I really want your opinion on this. I really want you to share what you would do on this. What do you think that we should do with this money? That kind of stuff. Or have you help with things. They're not going to just allow you to be walked on and abused financially or any other way if they are a decent human being. Okay. So you need to remember that you cannot heal what you're still minimizing or excusing. And I feel like this one is the hardest one, is just accepting what the reality of the situation is and seeing the reality of the situation. Okay. So R right here, rebuild confidence. Financial abuse doesn't just steal your money, it steals trust in yourself. So know that you can, that's not spelled right, rebuild your relationship with money one small decision at a time. Okay. So is money being used as control? Let's look at the abuse. Am I afraid of financial conversations? Have I lost confidence in my own decisions? Pretty much probably when you're coming out of a narcissistic relationship, you don't trust yourself. Your confidence is in the gutter. You don't feel worthy of anything. You may not even know what you like about anything. You may not even understand how disconnected you are from yourself until you really start looking at this and then thinking about these questions. Okay, so the E is establish financial habits. So restore stability through daily practice. So establishing financial habits, create a budget. That's really what this is. Know your numbers, track your spending without shame. So I remember when I was starting to track my money, and I went and I think I bought a bottle of wine because I was still doing that a lot at that time. And I remember feeling such absolute shame that I had bought that bottle of wine, because I could have bought something for my kids with that. I could have done something else to help them out at that time. And so I had such shame. And I encourage you not to do that. You deserve to be taken care of too. You really, really do. And that is so hard to know that you are worthy of being taken care of. And if you want a stinking bottle of wine, go buy the bottle of wine and be like, yep, I bought a bottle of wine. Um, Learn one skill weekly. Build knowledge consistently about money. Maybe you don't know how to budget. Maybe you don't know how to track your expenses. Maybe all of this is so new that you don't even know. And so maybe just going online and looking at your bank account is like, and just looking through it and being like, I'm going to categorize it because my banking allows you to categorize each expense that you have. Go through and categorize everything, and then play around with a budget online, or on paper, or a spreadsheet, or just try something. There's nothing that's going to be 100% right, and there's nothing that's going to be 100% wrong. There's going to be things that work, and there's going to be things that don't work. And I think that when you take the view of, it's not that I'm going for perfection, that's not real, it's not a thing. I am going to try a bunch of things out, and then I'm going to find out what works for me, and I'm going to keep the things that work. I'm going to throw out the stuff that doesn't. Okay. And then when you're ready, create a simple budget. Start small and stay consistent. Maybe you're just budgeting your gas money. You could start with just budgeting your gas money. And then the next month you could budget groceries, or whatever, or like tracking them and finding out where does this all fit together. Freedom isn't built in one giant leap. It's built with these little tiny consistent habits that are so absolutely important. Okay, let's keep going. E, expand your independence. So create options for yourself. With income, increase your earning potential. If you, like I got certified in coaching, which was a ton of education, and then a lot of testing, and then the certification. And it took me doing that. And I had to do that to increase the opportunity that I had to make more money. You can start your own business. And I will tell you this, that in the beginning, when I started out, I was Ubering because I had nothing else, and I had a car, and I figured out if I Ubered on Friday and Saturday night, I could make the money that I needed for the week. And so that was awesome, but it's hard on a car. And then COVID hit. Now, so when COVID hit, everything stopped, but I had already started my cleaning business by then too. And so I could go back to cleaning after COVID was done. And so that was what I had, but I knew I wasn't planning on cleaning houses until I was 80 years old. And I needed to figure out a way to actually have a career that I could increase my income with, that I could increase the way we lived and the things that we wanted, and just like to, and I really wanted to help other people. My whole goal in life was, I just want to love the people. And so in coaching, I can love the people. So that's what we're talking about, increasing your earning potential. You don't have to be a coach. Maybe you want to go back to college. Maybe you want to go get a certification at the JUCO. There's all kinds of like 2-year degrees, if that's something that you want to do. There's tons of online courses that you can take in order to increase your earning potential. Those are all the things that we're talking about, is figuring out how you can make more money than you do now, and to make it more efficiently. And that's obviously a totally different place. But anyway, also, I was a huge odds and ends job person. Somebody would call me, hey, can you do this for me? Sure can. I've flipped 3 houses with a gentleman that is a friend of mine, because he is older and he wanted to get rid of his houses, but they needed to be upgraded first. So I would go in and flip them for him, get paid hourly. I could do it whenever it worked for me, like when I didn't have my kids, when I wasn't doing other jobs, whatever. And then I was able to make huge chunks of extra money off of that. So look for these things. And when you open your mind to be like, you know what, money opportunities are going to come to me. you're going to be blown away by what happens, because out of the blue, things are going to start coming to you. It's crazy. Emergency fund, build a financial cushion. This one, as a mama that is paying for practically everything for the kids and all of that, building a financial cushion has been a real challenge. So even if you put $20 a month into that emergency fund, or $100 a month, whatever you can, just to build it up over time, it is so important. And you will feel so proud of yourself and so confident that life isn't going to come and kick your feet out from underneath you. Know what your legal rights are. Know what you're entitled to. This is another one that is super important, because there may be things that your ex is doing that he's claiming that maybe you could claim, or that there are legal things that you are able to get because you're a single mom. Also, when you are looking for housing, there are special loans that you can get right after you're divorced, or after you're divorced, that you were not eligible for while you were married. There's so many little tiny intricate ways to go about creating what you want. You just have to not even look for them, but expect that they will show up. Okay. And then get system support. You don't have to do this by yourself. Friends, family, coaches, therapists, counselors, people that can get around you and that can love on you and that can support you and listen to you and suggest things to you. These are all so absolutely important. So the goal isn't wealth at first. The goal is having options. So important to just be able to have options. Okay. D is define your boundaries. So protect your finances. Financial freedom isn't only about having your own bank account. It's learning to say, no, I need transparency. We make decisions together. I won't participate in financial manipulation. Okay. Healthy boundaries protect healthy finances. So think about protecting your finances, that when you decide to spend money on something or give money to something or share your money with someone, make sure that you are coming from a place where you are holding integrity with yourself, and that you have your boundaries set so that nobody's going to walk all over you, so that nobody's going to be trying to encroach on your finances. That is going to be upsetting and is not going to serve you well. Oh, own your future, from reaction to intention. So financial abuse keeps people living in reaction. Freedom allows you to become intentional. What life am I building? What legacy do I want to leave to my children? And what dreams have I put on hold? So many times we have put so many dreams on hold because of, helping them with building their careers, raising kids, educating kids, doing all these things that we do to raise these children in the most beautiful and amazing ways. And we are, like, for me, I never really had a clear dream before. I just thought that I would just kind of, like, I don't know, ramble through life until something came that I finally felt like, oh yes, this is the thing. And that was children. And so when I had my children, I was all in 100%. I homeschooled them. I was with them all the time, 24/7. And I was most of the time so glad about that, because I wanted to pour all of myself into that. And as I sit here now with my youngest being 14, I see how me finding my dreams and me finding out what I want to do with the rest of my life, how absolutely 100% important that is. And so maybe you want to go back to work. And so, you'll put your kids in school, and then you'll be able to work on, your dreams there, your career, whatever. Wherever you are, you have to look at that for yourself and look, what dreams have I put on hold? What dreams do I want to start pursuing again? Because your dreams are important. You are important. Okay, so let's look at this. M, multiplying the legacy. Freedom that changes generations. Okay, your parents may be doing money the same way that their parents did money, and the same way their parents did money. I don't know, maybe so. But I do know that we can be so mindful about the way that we educate our children on how to deal with money. Okay. So stewardship, not power. Money is managed together. So if you're a single parent, you're probably not managing your money with anybody. However, remember that it is a tool. Money is a tool. It's not something to lord over anybody. You know this, you've seen it. It's not something to use to manipulate people. It's just a tool. Boundaries protect relationships, not control. So when we have boundaries in place, they are to protect a relationship. They are not to control people. They also, dignity and partnership. Every person has God-given wisdom. Every single one of us has God-given wisdom. And we're going to get into some more of that in here in just a minute. And then generosity, it reflects abundance, not scarcity. So one of the things that I have really had to learn is, and especially in the beginning, because I would have friends bring me a check because I hadn't figured out what I was going to do yet. And I was just struggling to get my footing. They would bring me a check and I'd be like, I cannot receive this. And they're like, yes, you need to take it. And then another friend said to me, when you do not take the check, you are taking the blessing away from them. And it was the beginning of the lesson of me receiving is a blessing for me and for the person giving the gift. Because think about, when I give a gift, when I give that gift, I feel so grateful that I can give that gift. And I feel so good that I can do that. And so I do feel blessed. So why wouldn't it work the other way around? And the reason is because of what you think about yourself. And that's hard. That's hard to be told, but it is true. The goal isn't simply that you become financially free. The goal is that your children never mistake control for love because they watch you model something healthier. So when we see money as a tool, and when we are abundant, and also the other cool thing about money is that when we give it, it comes back. It's supposed to be like water and fluid. It's not supposed to be held on too tightly. We're not supposed to think there's no more coming ever. But a lot of us do, just because that was what we've been conditioned to know. Okay, so let's think about that when we're teaching our children, that we want to teach our children this amazing, healthy way of looking at money. Okay, it's not just about you, it's about your babies. So part 5, teaching our children. So this is about building, I'm going to read this first, building healthy stewardship and partnership. We often teach children how to earn money, but we don't teach them how to share the power. So I had an incident happen in my life that drove me into a Bible search about how money is to be used, and about some really great lessons. And I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people that disagree with me, and I'm totally okay with that. But the first one comes from Genesis 2:24, where two become one, not one becomes a managed. So this was about it. Actually, this Genesis goes back to Genesis 1 is where I wanted to start, when God put the tree in the garden. And the reason that I find this absolutely important is because he wanted us to be able to choose him. Okay. He wanted us to be able to freely choose him. And the only way for us to be able to freely choose him is to have another choice. And so when you are considering money in a marriage or in a relationship, think about that if you have, okay, if the man has all the power and he has all the control of the money and he is abusive with it and she has none of that, then she is a slave to him. She is trapped. And so I propose that if each person in that marriage has their own money, and also if they need to combine some of it for whatever, or if they have like an investment account for each one of them, and then they have their pool of money, but to always have money on the outsides, because that way you actively get to choose love for your spouse every day. And if you find a place where there is abuse or that you need to escape for some terrifying reason, that you have a place. But in a healthy relationship, that's not going to happen. You're going to freely choose your spouse because you are working together. It is good. But to always have that choice, just like God gave us that choice of the tree in the garden. Okay. So the second one was Proverbs 31. She bought land, made investments, earned income. She was trusted. She was not financially invisible. So the Proverbs 31 lady, I'm sure most everybody has heard about her, that she went and bought land for her family. She went and bought clothing. She bought food. She earned her own money. She sold her goods. Her husband was very proud of her, that he bragged about her to his friends, that she was so wise. So she had financial power, even though she was married. And I feel like we've missed the mark on this, that we're like, oh, she's all these great things, but we didn't look at the financial piece of it as she has her own financial power. And so here's another place, in the Bible that it talks about that. And then the next one is the faithful stewardship together, financial conversations marked by honor, not intimidation. This was not supposed to be something where the woman submits to the man and then that's that. They are partners. Eve came from Adam's rib, not from his foot. So we are together. Not one of us is not more important than the other one. And so those were the things that really, like, I started talking to my kids about, because I want them to understand that both people are supposed to have power there. And it's supposed to be out of loving choices, not out of control. Point at the bottom. Model partnership for your kids. So children often marry what feels familiar. So teach them to have money conversations openly, to budget and know where their money goes, to never hide accounts or use money to punish, and never to confuse leadership with control. Leadership is, most of the time, leaders allow the people to, like, they guide the people, but they also allow the people to make decisions and then teach them from their decisions, what can we learn from this? What can we take away from this experience? Okay. So here's the big picture. Financial abuse isn't just one issue. It's connected to so many other things. And so that's what this little wheel tells us. It's connected to stress and trauma. It's connected to our identity and confidence. It's connected to the boundaries we have or don't have, to your parenting and to your healing. So when you heal, then your finances heal, and then your children heal, and then your generations heal. And you start creating this beautiful picture for the future of what you want. Okay. So if you have any questions after I've done this, then feel free to put them in the chat or in Facebook, because I'm doing Facebook and the Zoom both at the same time. One of the questions that is very common is, can financial abuse happen even if there was plenty of money? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There are clients of mine that their spouses are very wealthy, and that was still like they held that the breadwinner held finances above them or away from them, so that it was all very controlled, or what they spent money on or how they looked, or trying to coax the survivor on what they should be wearing, looking like, all of these things that can be a part of financial abuse too. And just because one person has all the money, and it could be millions of dollars, doesn't mean that the survivor had any at all. What if you're still married? So if you're still married, I would say really take a truthful look at what's happening in your marriage with finances. And if you feel safe to have a conversation with your spouse about that, then please do. And if you want help with that, then book a free call with me and I can absolutely help you with that. How do I rebuild confidence after years of someone else handling everything? So like we talked about in this webinar, one small step at a time. One small step at a time. It really, really does come down to that, is that when we start building that trust in those little things, then another little thing, and then another little thing, then it starts just making a huge transformation over your whole entire life. So little tiny steps, that's how we do that. What if my ex still uses child support or legal fees to control me? Well, with legal fees, there's free help for single moms or single parents that do not have the means to do that. So you can look into that. On child support, my goal has always been to not need it, especially if they are not consistent. And it is very, very hard, because when you are expecting that in order to be able to pay, your electric bill or whatever, and then they don't send it, then you have to figure it out some other way. And for me, I had the mentality of, I want to get to a place where I don't need child support anymore. I want to get to a place where the finances are not so tight that getting or not getting that child support is going to break me or make me. And so that is a very hard way that I looked at it for myself, because I was not going to be the person that was kept down because somebody else told me I couldn't make money, or because somebody else was controlling the money. So you're going to have that. It's really tough. And again, feel free to reach out to me and book a free call so that we could talk about, your situation independently. So, okay, so if this is something you're looking at this and you're like, oh my gosh, I can see that I have so much work to do in this area, and so many other areas too, I want you to consider working with me. I help women rebuild after toxic and narcissistic relationships, practically and emotionally. We work through trauma, we rebuild confidence, we create boundaries, and we build financial independence. And you can book a free session with me. You can join my coaching program, and I also have a free Facebook community if that is something that you're interested in. Obviously, the people in my Facebook community who are watching this now know about that. So I'm going to stop sharing because I want to be able to, give me just a second here. There we are. I wanted to be able to see if there were any questions or anything of the sort. And if you are watching this and you want to book a call with me, will you please message me? and let's get that taken care of. We'll figure out a time that's going to work for both of us so that we can get that taken care of for you. Because this first call is really amazing. What we do on the first call is we talk about where you are now and where you want to be in 6 months. And we talk about money. We talk about your self-confidence. We talk about your stress level. We talk about your kids, because these 4 areas seem to be such a big deal. And when we can break these down and when we can really work on these deeply, the amount of the work and the outcome, that's not the word I want, the results that you get are so life-changing and so phenomenal. And I know that from the clients that I have, one of the clients, I love all my clients. It's so funny. But one of them, it's like everything was like super hard for the first 3 months. We were like brick wall, brick wall, brick wall, brick wall. And then something happened in the 4th and 5th month. And it's like everything was just building up. And then all of a sudden, everything came together and it all started just making absolute sense to her. And she ran with it. And the last call we were on, it was so much fun to just listen to her, because she needed a session where she could just brag on herself about all the ways that she could see that she had changed. And that was the most celebratory call that I think I've had so far. But it's so hard to pick because it's so much fun and it's so wonderful to see these women that come and they are just not sure of which direction to go. They feel so hopeless. They feel so aimless. And then to watch them grow as we work together and to watch them just bloom and realize how absolutely amazing they are is the most beautiful thing ever. So if this is something that sounds like you want to at least check it out, then make sure you book a free call with me. And like I said, in Facebook, I will go ahead and put the link for that so that you can do that in there if you'd like. And then I will also put it in all the platforms that I do so that you can and that